Now to the Mishnah in Maseches Gittin, the grounds for divorce. I'm going to say something. It's going to be a little strange and new to many people sitting here, but that's fine. We don't understand anything about the romance of the Tanoim and the Amoraim. We think that frum people are supposed to have miserable marriages. That's what many people think. The more religious, the more miserable the marriage. The more religious, the more God takes over the marriage, and the less it's a husband and a wife communicating together. I have heard from hundreds and hundreds of people, literally, I wish it was an exaggeration, but it's not, that their whole marriage, they don't even look forward to make it a good marriage. They get into the structure of religion, Shachus, Mincha, Ma'ariv, Shabbos, Yom Tov. The main thing is you produce a lot of kids, and that's it. Who even thinks about a relationship? This is a tragic mistake. It has nothing to do with Judaism. It has to do with our own failure to understand Judaism and understand relationships. It especially has to do with many mentors, leaders, Kala teachers, Chassan teachers, rabbis, and parents, who instead of educating their daughters and sons how to enjoy their marriage, instead they really teach them things that are so absurd. I'm not going to talk about them right here. But things that I hear are so absurd, are so based in Christianity, not in Judaism. And it's very, very sad. A lot of women, a lot of Kalas and Chassanim are taught that they're not supposed to enjoy their marriage. On the contrary, it's just a duty. The woman has to fulfill her duty. The man has to fulfill his duty. The husband is frustrated. The wife is frustrated. Everybody's frustrated. It takes them 15, 20 years to open up to somebody normal who tells them, Chevra, make a life for yourselves. God wants you to have a happy life. God wants you to enjoy each other spiritually, physically, emotionally, psychologically, socially. This is a big, big disaster in many, many circles. And of course, nobody talks about it because you're not allowed to talk about it, because Judaism, we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about life. We only talk about chumras. The pasuk says in Parshas Vayetze, Vayishat, probably you skipped this pasuk. Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel vayefk. Yaakov kissed Rachel, and he started to cry. So there was once a Yid, Chashav Yid, who gave a shir. He said, why did he cry? He said, Pashat, he kissed her. He said, Oi, I kissed a girl. So he started to cry to do tshuva. So somebody said over this story to the Ger Rebbe, to the Beis Yisrael. Somebody said over this word. So he said, I'll tell you why Yaakov cried. Yaakov cried because he knew that one day this rabbi is going to give this interpretation. That's why he started to cry. In other words, he started to cry about the fact that Jews think that love is treif, that relationships are a horrible thing. That whenever you talk about love between a husband and a wife, it's the worst thing in the world. You don't talk about it. That's why Yaakov was crying. Yaakov was crying about a Judaism that doesn't believe that people are people. So what happens is this. We make believe that men are angels. They're not. Most people are not addressing who they are. They're not giving them guidance or perspective. Because they're not giving them guidance or perspective, their whole intimate life is secretive. A few weeks ago, I gave a shir Shabbos morning up here in one of the shuls, and I spoke about the perspective of Judaism on relationships. A man comes over to me afterwards, I kid you not, and he says it was very nice, but it was really a big mistake what you did. I say, why was it a mistake? He says, my 18-year-old daughter was here, and she's not in shidduchim yet, and how could you speak about this in front of her? I said, did you hear what I said? He said, yeah. I said, did you like what I said? He said, I loved what you said. I said, you heard the Lashon Nakiya, the clean language in which I spoke about it? He said, yeah. I said, I always speak about it in clean language and very refined concept. What's the problem? He says, these things should not be discussed ever until the night before, the day before on this. Okay. I said, I beg to differ, but thank you for sharing. And he said, I don't think I could come back here and I can't bring her back. I said, okay. I'm sorry to hear that, sir. I kid you not, 6 minutes later, 2 girls come over to me. I'm on the porch. Say, can we speak to you? Yeah, we go to the side. And they both tell me that they're addicted to inappropriate sites, completely inappropriate sites. And they're telling me the films that they watch and the movies they watch and things that they're addicted to. One is 17, one is 18. And one of them says, the shir that you gave today in the morning was unbelievable. I never knew that Judaism has anything to say intelligent about this. My whole education I got from YouTube, certain sites on YouTube. Could you give this shir every Shabbos morning, discuss this? I said, that's so interesting. And what's your name? And she introduces herself, and it happened to be the daughter. It happened to be the daughter. And then I realized something very, very intense. And that is, many of us parents are completely in la-la land. We often don't know anything that's happening with our children. You have a good home. You don't even have internet in your house. But there's a class of 20, 30 kids. Almost every child, not every, gets exposed to information through one of the children in the class or in camp when they're 13, when they're 14. But they don't tell their parents. So we live in la-la land about our children. Sometimes their entire education about love they're getting from completely alien and often destructive forces. And when they get married, their entire paradigm has been shaped by YouTube. And the parents are completely clueless because they're Hasidisha or good yeshivisha parents. And that's why you live in a generation. You may think this is strange, but I'm giving you advice from soul to soul, friend to friend. And that is, parents today need to give an education to their children about intimate issues, age appropriate and sensitive according to their age and who they are. Don't stick your head in the sand. The amount of problems and challenges it creates later when they don't have these conversations, girls with mothers and boys with fathers usually, is disastrous. It would have been very nice if we lived in a different world. We don't live in that different world. And I'm talking here even in the most Hasidic communities where there's no internet and there's filters galore. There's one kid in the class who knows everything and introduces it to other kids. I learned this the hard way, and I see this as a fact. And this is where people need to understand that if Yiddishkeit only talks about things that are not really relevant to people's lives, we have failed ourselves as Jews. We have disconnected from Judaism. Why is it that Kala teachers have to tell Kalas that intimacy is not supposed to be enjoyable? What are men supposed to do? I don't know how many men, I'm not justifying them, how many people felt the need to go elsewhere to find enjoyment because they can't find it in their marriage. In the name of Kedusha, in the name of Tara, this is what we're doing. By not helping women and men learn how to be married in a powerful, healthy way, how many people are going elsewhere? Nichshel in Inyanim of Misa B'dei Shamayim, all in the name of Chassidus, of Kedusha, Tara. If this is not corruption, what is corruption? If this is not corruption, what is corruption? In the name of holiness and sanctity, many, many young men desperately trying to satisfy themselves find all types of grotesque alternatives because they can't work it out in their marriage. And we call this holy. This is something that really needs to be rectified, at least in my humble opinion. That's what the Ger Rebbe said, why Yaakov was crying. Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel vayevk, my interpretation of what he said. He was crying because he realized there's going to be a whole generation of Jews, including in Ger, among his own Hasidim, and others, who will completely misunderstand that relationships are holy. Relationships are sacred. The Ramban writes that the bedroom is called Kodesh HaKadoshim. It's the Holy of Holies. In Tanakh and Malachim, the Holy of Holies is called Cheder HaMitos, the bedroom. In Judaism, the bedroom is holier than a shul. How do I know? If there's no mikveh, you have to sell a shul and take the money and build a mikveh. Because a shul, you make mishabeirachs, you daven and you make kiddushim, and the gabbai gets attention, or the rabbi gets attention, or the president gets attention. But mikveh is where the Jewish tomorrow is created. The essence of the relationship of a husband and a wife is kodesh kadoshim. I don't mean the spiritual relationship. I mean the physical relationship and the spiritual relationship. They work together. Whenever you create a Judaism that divorces ruchnius from gashmius, heaven from earth, and people from angels, when you make believe men and women are angels, you create neurotic people. You create sick people. You create people that are unhealthy. They're not functioning healthy. And religion becomes a very strange exercise. And their real life is completely in secret. Completely in secret. And they sit down, and they expose themselves, and they think they're telling you things that nobody ever shared in the history of humanity, because they're the only human beings, because they thought that in their whole community, everybody is malachim. They're the only humans. Well, welcome to the United States of America. They say, what's the difference between a neurotic and a psychotic and a psychiatrist? The neurotic builds castles in the air. The psychotic lives in them. The psychiatrist collects the rent from both of them. So whenever you have a Judaism that doesn't integrate life, you create an issue, or you create a neurotic. Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel vayef. The Gemara says that when the Yuma, Nondalad, when the Gentiles came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, what did they see? Ro hakruvim ma'urin zebazeh. Now people are thinking, we came Tisha B'Av for a Shir, it's supposed to be about Tisha B'Av. How indeed did Rabbi Y get involved with Vayishak Yaakov l'Rachel vayef? What are we talking about? The answer is this is the essence of the day. The Gemara says that when they went into Kodesh HaKadoshim on Tisha B'Av, they saw the Kruvim U'urin Zebazeh. The Kruvim were intertwined with each other. They were integrated. They were hugging each other. Frek de Ritva, in Yuma, Nundalit. The Ritva doesn't make sense. The Gemara says in Yuma that when Jews would come up for Aliyah L'Regel, they would open up the Paraychas and they would show them the Kruvim. If they were looking at each other, the boy and the girl were looking at each other, it meant that Hashem and the Jewish people are in a good relationship, and that's why they're gazing at each other. If they looked away from each other, it means that the relationship was problematic, so they looked away from each other. As the Ritva, what does it mean that the Tisha B'Av, the Kruvim U'Urim, not only were they looking at each other, they were literally hugging each other. It's the opposite. That time was apparently the greatest estrangement. So the Bnei Yissaschar brings a Torah from the Maggid of Mezrich. The Maggid of Mezrich says in Gemara in Yevamis, Chayav Adam Lifkei des Ishtoi B'shah sheyoytzi l'derech. Before a guy goes on a business trip, the Gemara says he has to be together with his wife. Since he's traveling, he has to make sure the night before he's together with his wife. Says the Maggid, since it was now Churban Beis HaMikdash, Eicha Yoshva Vodod, Ha'i Rabbasiyam Hoysa Kalmona, Zog the Medrash, Ki Isha Shahalach Baila L'Medinas Hayam. She's not a widow, she's like a widow. Why is she like a widow? Because her husband went on a long business trip. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean, the Medina Sayyam. God went to America for 1700 years. He wasn't coming back, so we came to America to find him. So therefore the Maggid says, right before that, the husband has to be together with the wife. Why? Because he's leaving. So that's why on Tisha B'Av, before, so to speak, the Shechina left, it was a moment of Kruvim U'urin Zebazev intimacy. He goes one step deeper, and that is, it says in Yerushalmi that Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. That's why the Arizal brings, we say Nachem in the Mincha. What's Pshat Mashiach was born on Tisha B'Av? The seed of Mashiach is conceived from the intimacy between Hashem and the Jewish people during the Churban. Kruvim U'urim Zebazeh, that conceives the seed of the Geula in the womb of the Jewish people that then develops throughout Golus until the Geula. Kruvim U'urim Zebazeh. Now, Adkan Maimer HaMuzgar, now we come back to the Mishnah in Gittin. It's very hard for us to appreciate the truth